r/AskReddit by Reddit tells. Hotel staff of Reddit, what was the most memorable thing you saw in guest's room? Had a man that would stay with us every month or two for a single night. Probably mid-50s, short, unassuming, casual suit, about as bland and unnoticeable as possible. Would show up around 7 o'clock with luggage and alcohol, check in, and not come down until checkout. One night he called down because his TV wasn't working, and when he opened his door he was in full drag, dress, pantyhose, makeup, wig, but still spoke in his normal voice and acted like nothing was out of the ordinary. Mentioned it to the manager in the morning, and it turns out he'd been doing it for years, just coming to the hotel, dressing in drag, getting drunk and watching TV by himself. No visitors, no phone calls, never left the room. Was probably married, and sadly didn't want his spouse to know about his drag career. I can't figure out if they were working through some stuff or just being themselves, but I found that really wholesome. I love it when people are chill with things like that. I had to clean up a room after a pimp got kicked out, so all their stuff was still in there, and the room was completely trashed. The TV was smashed, chairs/table flipped and tossed, someone threw a bottle of lotion against a wall, and the whole room was covered motivational notes like get that dough or hook and aim, the breadwinner. There was also a vibrating dildo, a smashed iPhone, and some pants toting the line between really short shorts and a denim thong. I learned a lot about the fine art of hookery after the experience, like how much perfume they use to keep the room from smelling like jizz, and disapproving head shakes from Jesus. Or how they use literal gallons of mouthwash and a ton of disposable toothbrushes. They must be training to become dentists. Overall, I think it was a good lesson into my career options if the whole hotel thing doesn't work out. The notes made me think about Memento but with hookers. I found handwritten motivation notes to be commonplace in criminals' households. I was once delivering a food service tray to a young couple. After knocking and hearing come in, I tried to fish the keys out of my pocket, but just couldn't wrestle the tray, etc. So I called out that I couldn't open the door. The lady came to the door and tried to open it just a crack, but again we couldn't get the tray through the small opening. "Fuck this," she says, and throws the door open. I was literally shocked because 1. She looked like a Victoria's Secret model and was wearing a really nice matching bra and French Nike set, purple with white lace in case you're wondering, and 2. Her boyfriend was coming out of the shower in his towel, dripping wet, looking like some kind of superhero caught between cases. All 3 of us laughed it off, but I'll never forget how both looked so shocked and yet were the hottest real life couple I've seen ever since. Isn't this how porn starts? Not hotel staff, but I was visiting my mother's old college friend at a hotel in Jacksonville, Florida. My mom didn't say why we were going to go visit her in her hotel room of all places. Well, when we get to her room I immediately noticed the air conditioner was turned all the way down and there were towels all over the floor. We walk in, and she just grins and says, "Look in the bathroom." Well, as soon as we walked in we noticed 6 penguins hopping in and out of the tub filled with ice. She worked for SeaWorld, and apparently when they travel with the penguins, they hang out in the rooms with them. Was awesome. I really thought this was going a different direction after all those poop and dead body stories. Super jealous about seeing penguins though. I used to work as a chambermaid in a hotel, and one day my supervisor told me to inspect room 405 because a colleague was doing her rounds and hadn't returned. I entered said room quietly and walked in on another maid having sex with the hotel junior manager. She was mid-20s and he was 50 something. They didn't see me. I quietly exited and pretended I didn't see anything. I returned to my supervisor and said the room was empty as I didn't want to get involved. This isn't what I meant by get a room. I like people like you. Dead people. Sadly, if you work in this profession on a long enough timeline, this will happen. Yep, you get to be maintenance, housekeeping, coroner, and everything else for $10 an hour with no food or bathroom breaks for 8 hours plus. Can confirm. People love to kill themselves at hotels. I guess they are trying to spare their loved ones from finding their bodies? But damn. That maid does not get paid enough to find your stupid corpse. Also, drug overdoses. Source: dead body removal for the coroner. An entire room set up to print fake payroll checks. Dot matrix printers, scanners, stacks of perforated blanks, lists of routing and account numbers, lists of social security numbers, etc. It was a group of 3 people and a pit bull. They were driving around in a stolen car and got pinched, so the cops came to investigate their room, and after seeing their setup, got the feds involved. I still have a multi-tool that I found in their personal effects. Not sure what happened to the dog. Had to deal with a few people who were pretty obviously connected and in town for business. One was an incredibly attractive Hispanic lady who paid for everything with 100s and entertained a steady flow of other, equally attractive ladies. She also tended to answer her door in underwear, which was cool. She left behind a few pairs of handcuffs. Another was a 6 feet 5 inches Sicilian dude from Jersey, who was named Mike Reynolds or some other made up shit. The hallway outside his room reeked of weed, so we asked him to stop smoking in the room. He apologized for the smell, but said he hadn't been smoking any of it. We asked to come inside his room, and, sure enough, there was no sign of him actually smoking. He just had half a pound of weed that was so dank you could smell it through 2 layers of plastic and a suitcase. I've seen so much dog/human shit, naked people, drug paraphernalia and sex toys that none of them are really memorable anymore. But it is surprising how many people leave loaded handguns in their rooms. This sounds like a TV show. Worked at a high-end resort with private homes, cabins, and a few general lodging buildings. One of the general buildings had 11 rooms and a common area on the first floor with a TV, fireplaces, etc. One of the private owners was staying in one of the rooms. Thinky home was being worked on, but she wanted to use the resort amenities. She proceeded to get extremely drunk at dinner and go back to her room. It's close to midnight, and I'm doing my final rounds before heading home for the night. I walk into the common area of the lodge and find Ms. Private Owner passed out on one of the couches face down, ass up in a nightgown that was pulled up revealing all her lady parts. I called my night audit to come help me rouse her and get her back to her room. I didn't want to be the only one there when she woke to avoid any type of harassment blame. We spent about 10 minutes trying to get her awake before she finally came to and let us carry her back to her room/bed. The whole time she was thanking us and asking us to stay the night with her, wink wink. We refused, got her into bed with a bottle of water and some aspirin on the bedside table. She never mentioned anything to either of us again. The Masters, a tradition like no other. I used to work in a hotel as a summer job and was the first one to enter a room when a guest had left. This hotel had some very expensive rooms. One day I was greeted with a disgusting smell while entering one of the expensive rooms. The bath was flooded, the shower was used as a toilet, leftover food was scattered on the carpet. The best part was a trash bag full of human waste next to the bed. Closed the door and rang my boss. The hotel had to completely renovate the whole room and the guest was charged a not a small amount of money. Don't remember how much exactly. This was the worst case that I came across, but it happens more often than you think. We had a high school soccer tournament in town for a few days. When I went to clean the room, I was initially very excited because the beds were already made, so I just had to clean the bathroom, vacuum, and take out the trash. I put my hand on one of the beds while I was getting back up from picking something up off the floor and heard this awful crunch. Pull back the sheet and there's a layer of potato chips all spread out between the bottom and top sheets. I had to strip both beds and remake them and then vacuum again because of how many chips ended up on the floor during that process. I was blessed to not have that room again during their stay, but over the next several days other housekeepers discovered similar incidents involving shaving cream, craft supplies, and silly string. Little shits. Edit. It wasn't the grossest room I ever cleaned by a long stretch, but I feel like it's a better story than forgotten anal beads, booze bottles, and the general grossness of people who do their own hair removal in hotel bathrooms. Honest to God, you'd think an alpaca got drunk in the shower. I've posted about this on Reddit before, but the noodle room. The noodle room will always stay in my head. Entering the room was like walking into a giant's bladder. The smell of piss, ancient, stale, concentrated piss, was overwhelming. and my first thought was that I was going to find the sheets or carpets soaked or the toilet overflowing. But despite the smell, there wasn't a drop of urine anywhere or any visible source for the phantom piss stench. What there was noodles. 2 empty bags of takeaway from the Wagamamas next door, and all the contents upended into the bed. The white sheets were slick with noodles and ducty ryaki, the smell mingling with the piss miasma that filled the room. As I gingerly pulled the noodle-soaked sheets from the bed, a huge, greasy cock pump covered in cum rolled out and flopped onto the floor. The bin contained used cock rings. I cleaned the room as best I could and tried my best to cover up the smell with air fresheners, but nothing could get rid of the smell. The room was offline for days, just trying to air out the stink. Next time I stay at a hotel, I'm going to wear a hazmat suit. Used to do maintenance for a hotel. Tons of stories. Some old dudes hired an escort to lay in a casket all night while they partied. She must have been some sort of humiliation escort. She ended up walking the dudes out into the hallway on a leash. They were all naked except socks. She was fully dressed in some leather getup. Drunk guy was sitting on one of the front desk clerks. Being rude and disrespectful, he kept asking her to come up to his room. She didn't want to. He goes to his room and calls the front desk and asks her to bring up some toothpaste. She says okay and asks me to do it. I knock on the door and he opens it up, buck naked with a gigantic boner. Honestly bigger than porn dicks. Once he realized it was me, he slammed the door. Makes you wonder what he would have done had she went up to his room. Some people filmed a porn in one of our rooms. They needed a few extra power bars and extension cords, so I brought them up. Tons of lighting, toys, outfits, etc. Still looking for that video. We had a wanted person hiding out in our hotel. Cops were looking for them, staked out rooms around the wanted person's room. I don't know what they did, but the cops got them. Dealt with a noise complaint. Room was full with 30+ people. All dudes except one young girl. We tell people to leave, they refuse. Cops show up. They enter the room. Find a backpack with a rape kit and pills. Belonged to a bar owner in the city who was shut down for serving underage. Exciting times. My dad and I work nights at the same hotel. Dad was covering a shift for me. I forget why. When this happened, a guy and girl checked in, and it was obvious it was to do the deed. She looked like she might be a prostitute, by the guy's credit card was good, so whatever. He checks them in, and they go up to their room. About an hour later the girl leaves, while laughing the whole way out. A few minutes later there is a call from that room. Dad could barely understand the guy as it sounded like he was nowhere near the phone, but eventually figures out the guys needs a hand with something and to just come up to the room and open the door, as he could not get to the door to open it. So my dad goes up, opens the door, and finds the guy tied to a chair, naked, with a broomstick shoved up his back exit. The guys tell my dad the woman stole his wallet and asks to be untied. Dad tells him that it was outside his expertise and that he will have to call the police for the theft. The police arrive to untie him and take a statement for the theft. Oddly enough, when the guy left in the morning he was complaining how the cops did not seem to take him seriously. TLDR, Ho ties man to chair, shoves broom up his ass, and leaves with his wallet. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed. Comment with your own bizarre hotel stories. Subscribe to the channel for more content to come. Hit the bell notification to be notified of future videos.